Hey guys, Sean here. I just got done watching the Santa Claus trilogy with Tim Allen, consisting of the Santa Claus 2, the Escape Clause, or no, the Santa Claus 2, the Mrs. Claus, and then Santa Claus 3, the Escape Clause. Um, I'm gonna start with the 1994 original. So let's see. It was released in 1994 under the direction of John Pasquin, I think. It's spelled Pasquin. I think I pronounced that right. And according to what I've read, was his first film that he made. He apparently directed, I think, a couple of the episodes of Home Improvement that Tim Allen was starring in at the time. And so they decided to get together, work with Disney, and make this movie. So hang on, let me see. I really should start my research before I get on the camera. Let's see. Here we are. The Santa Claus is the 1994 Christmas fantasy comedy film directed by John Pasquin. It is the first installment in the Santa Claus trilogy, and it stars Tim Allen as Scott Calvin, an ordinary man who accidentally causes Santa Claus to fall off his roof on Christmas Eve. When he and his young son Charlie finish St. Nick's trip and deliveries, they go to the North Pole, where Scott learns he must become the new Santa and convince those he loves that he is indeed Father Christmas. This was basically John Pasquin and Tim Allen's first movie collaboration after they both worked together on the TV show to Home Improvement. And then Pasquin and Allen would later work again on the films Jungle to Jungle, Joe Somebody, and the TV show Last Man Standing. The film was followed by two sequels: The Santa Claus 2, The Mrs. Claus, 2002, and The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. In comparison to the original, the former received mixed reception, whilst the latter was panned by most critics. Ouch. So what do I think of this movie? I think it's a very well done film. I find it very enjoyable. I watch it every Christmas. I do like the actors in it. They have, Tim Allen, obviously, Eric Lloyd, who plays Charlie, Wendy Crewson, who plays Laura, is Scott's ex-wife, and then you have Judge Reinhold, who plays Neil, who is Laura's new husband, Charlie's stepdad. So the cast, they do very well in these roles. I find this movie very enjoyable. It's a lot of fun to sit through. Do I have any issues with the movie? Not really. I mean, if I do, they're incredibly minor. They don't take away from my enjoyment of the film. So I find it very enjoyable. So I'm going to now talk about the sequels. 2002 American Christmas romantic comedy drama film directed by Michael Lembeck. And a side note, Michael Lembeck took over as the director of the second and third movie. John Pasquin, for some reason, decided to step down as director for reasons I will have no idea, because they don't think it ever came up. It is the second installment in the Santa Claus trilogy following The Santa Claus. All the principal cast returns from the first film reprise their roles, except for Peter Boyle, who returns portraying a different minor character. The film was followed by a sequel, The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, released in 2006. This movie, and also I forgot to mention, the actor who plays Bernard in the first two movies is David Krumholtz. I think I butchered that name, but hey, at least I gave it a go. This is the last film though that Bernard appears in, and I'll talk about that when I get to the third movie. So this movie takes place 8 years after the first, obviously because it's released 8 years after. Where basically Scott's been the new Santa for 8 years, and he learns that in order to continue to be Santa, he has to find a Mrs. Claus. Also, Charlie is on the naughty list because he keeps misbehaving and vandalizing his school property, and etc. 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 Let's see. And then, so Scott goes down to visit Charlie and look for a wife, and they also have, so Curtis, the number 2 elf, played by Spencer Breslin, gets this idea to create a toy Santa in Scott's place, which makes me think, okay, Scott's gone down to visit Charlie numerous times, and I'm pretty sure this idea never came through their minds, because I'm pretty sure Bernard probably took care of operations while Scott was visiting his family. So it's like, why did they need the toy Santa? Anyway, so they make the toy Santa. The toy Santa basically goes out of control, thinking all kids are naughty, yada yada yada, while Scott is down with his family trying to find a wife and keep Charlie out of jail, or not out of jail, out of trouble. So Scott basically falls in love with the school principal, who is played by Elizabeth Mitchell. Her character's named Carol Newman, who at first is very, how should I say this? Bitter and cold-hearted, I guess you could say. But as Scott hangs out, spends more time with her, she kind of opens up, and he realizes that she's not the cold, bitter-hearted person that he once thought she was. And so the movie ends with them getting married, Scott becoming Santa Claus again, etc., etc., etc. So, do I have any problems with this movie? The toy Santa made little no sense, but I didn't make the movie. The whole subplot about Charlie being on the naughty list, like what Doug Walker said, you could have cut that out and not missed anything. I mean, not that it slowed down the pace of the movie, but it just wasn't really needed. You could have cut that whole thing out. All you needed was the scene in the beginning where Charlie is basically spray painting the gym, and then the scene with them in the principal's office. You only needed those 2 scenes. The rest of it you could have cut out, and the movie would probably been better off for it. Would have been better off for it. Like I said, the toy Santa thing, I thought was that didn't really make sense, because you'd think that if Scott was going down to visit his family, you'd think Bernard would be in charge. And even Bernard says it. I can take care of business up here. So the toy Santa was basically pointless too. So I think those are my only 2 nitpicks with the second movie, but I still enjoy it overall. I still think it's a very good film. Now on to the third movie, Santa Claus 3: The Escape Clause. This movie, let's see. Let's skip Jaws. This is the first and only movie that David Krumholtz is not in as Bernard, because due to prior commitments having to do with a TV show called Numbers, which was in its second season, I think, when Santa Claus 3 was being filmed, and so he was tied up with his TV show, and so they couldn't get him to do the movie, and they wrote him out by having Spencer Breslin's character, Curtis, be promoted to the head elf. So yeah, The Santa Claus 3: The Escape Clause, or simply The Santa Claus 3, is a 2006 American Christmas fantasy comedy adventure film directed by Michael Lembeck. It is the third and final installment in the Santa Claus trilogy, following The Santa Claus and The Santa Claus 2: The Mrs. Claus. Tim Allen stars Tim Allen as returning as Scott Calvin and Santa Claus, and Martin Short as Jack Frost. Allen and Short had previously worked together in the film in the 1997 Disney comedy Jungle to Jungle. It says Eric Lloyd who returns in a smaller role as as Santa's son Charlie, as do many of the supporting characters from the first two movies. However, like I said, David Krumholtz, who previously played Bernard the Arc Elf, I think means head elf, does not appear in this one because of starring on numbers. So Curtis was promoted to his place. This was also Peter Boyle's final film to be released before he had passed from cancer 1 month after its release. So yeah, this movie takes place, 4 years after the first movie, where basically Carol is now pregnant. And yeah, Scott and Carol are basically married from the last movie. Carol is pregnant with Scott's second kid, and she's kind of feeling depressed because Scott is always kind of involved with his Santa stuff. And so Scott gets the idea to bring Carol's parents up to the North Pole, only they have the problem of the secret of Santa, so they disguise the North Pole as Canada to hide the secret of Santa, basically. But as always, Scott is more involved in his work rather than spending time with his family. Not his fault, but it's his job. And Jack Frost is basically sentenced by the Holiday Council to basically community service because he's been trying to upstage Santa Claus, or upstage Scott, basically. And so he's sentenced to community service with Curtis as his boss to basically help out around the North Pole. Although his evil plan is to, upstage Santa by trying to take Scott's job. So what he does is he goes into the Hall of Snow Globes, steals Scott's snow globe, and tries to get Scott to say, "I wish I'd never been Santa at all." Which he does, and they're blasted back to the first movie, where the Santa falls off Scott's roof, and this time, Frost is the one that gets the coat, and the North Pole changes into basically a theme park. I'll get to that in a bit. I'll get to that at the end. That is one little nitpick I have to think. I will get to that in a bit. So anyway, well, in this new timeline, the North Pole's turned into a theme park. Scott's apparently been the CEOs of his old company for the whole 12 years. And apparently his family hates his guts. Laura and Neil are divorced because apparently it put a strain on their marriage with Scott being not around. And Carol has apparently moved away. And so because they never and all that. Anyway, Scott gets the timeline fixed, and everything's back to normal. And then Scott and Carol finally decide to tell her parents about the North Pole. She has their baby, and the movie ends. So, do I have any nitpicks with this movie? You honestly could have called this movie anything else. This movie didn't need to be called the Escape Clause, because the whole Escape Clause thing was not really all that long. It was basically 10-20 minutes of the entire movie. It just seemed right, to be honest. But I do enjoy this movie. I think it's very well done. I did feel bad though that David Krumholtz could not be in this one. Which I understand, he was busy with other stuff, but I just feel bad that he couldn't be in it. So I do overall enjoy this trilogy. I enjoy watching it every Christmas because they are fun movies. So if you guys have not seen these movies yet, they've been out for many years now. Hopefully you guys get a chance to watch them and hope you enjoy them as much as I do. So next time I will be reviewing The Grinch starring Jim Carrey, and then I will review the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, and that will be probably the end of Christmas month. Because I'm in the middle of I'm going to do a Christmas month like I did with Halloween month, where I review Christmas movies over the month of December. So I guess I'll catch you guys.